Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Pitch Talk.
We are fans of football dropping vlogs, videos and podcasts on the beautiful game.
Check out our videos on YouTube and Instagram's IGTV,
including special feature segments, vlogs such as
5 minutes with the G,
the Straight Shootin View,
Coaching with JBK,
audio on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
Podomatic, Spotify and other podcast platforms.
Join the Pitch Talk revolution on social media, Twitter, Instagram.
We have a group and fan page on Facebook.
The pitch is where we eat.
The pitch is where we sleep.
And the pitch is where we talk.
I can see you now. I can see you now and then.
Welcome to
the Straight Shootin View.
Yours truly, Straight Shootin LJA, and I am here with
JBK.
We want to dive into underrepresentation of black and minority ethnic managers, male managers in football. We're going to go back to the 3rd of July 2020. Rooney Rule, does scheme to increase BAME coaching representation actually work? It's from the BBC from the 3rd of January 2020. England forward Raheem said that last month at that point, that black footballers feel they have no representation in the hierarchy. Speaking at the context of the Black Lives Matter movement against racial inequality, Sterling said that now was the time to implement change in English football. The Rooney Rule is often mooted as a possible solution, but does it work? Introduced by the NFL in 2003, the rule states clubs must interview at least one black, Asian or minority ethnic BAME candidate for each head coach and general manager vacancy. The Football Association in 2018 and EFL in 2019 have adopted versions of the rule. 4 of the 39 at the time EFL appointments had since been BAME managers. After Sol Campbell left Southend, there were 5 across 91 clubs in the EFL and Premier League. Now, the Premier League has not brought in any form of the Rooney Rule, just to put that out there. And the FA nor EFL have actually released data on adherence to the rule. In regards to the US, the NFL sent a clear message shortly after the Rooney Rule was introduced. The Detroit Lions appointed their new head coach without interviewing a BAME candidate, and their president, not the organization, was fined $200,000. So quite a hefty fine there. There were 3 BAME head coaches at the start of the 2003 season and 8 by 2011. But after 2017, there was a sharp decline. By 2019, the number had dropped back to 4. So it's gone from 3 to 11 to 4 so far. At that time, BAME general managers were cut from 6 to 2. So a big factor was the appointment by the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders, of John Gruden in 2018. Owner Mark Davis admitted Gruden had agreed to become head coach before his predecessor was sacked. The Raiders later interviewed 2 BAME candidates, so the NFL concluded the rule was not violated, but the Fritz Pollard Alliance, FPA, an advocacy group whose work resulted in the Rooney Rule, felt the interviews were not meaningful as required. Professor Jeremy Duru, who serves as counsel to the FPA, told BBC Sport, I think that gave clubs the idea that, okay, they're not that serious about it anymore. I don't think it's any coincidence that in the 2 years since, the numbers have gone precipitously downwards. Number of BAME people in the NFL. At the start of the 2003 season, it was 70%. The 70.9%. Start of the 2019 season, it was 70.1. Starting quarterbacks, 21.9% in 03. In 19, 31.3. Assistant coaches, 33% in 03 compared to 2019, which was 33.6. Head coaches, 9.4. 12 compared to 12.5 at the start of the 2019 season. General managers stayed the same, 6.3% in 03 and in 2019. The number of starting quarterbacks has risen, but today's pipeline of BAME coaches is still affected by a process called racial stacking after the NFL banned BAME people from 1934 to 1946. So in terms of racial stacking, it's one of them ones where, well, starting in a disadvantaged position. But it is one of them ones between 2009 and 2018, data shows that BAME coaches had to wait longer for a head coach job, and after being sacked were less likely to get another chance. There's that part of it as well. And 17 years after the Rooney Rule came into effect, BAME numbers across the NFL, as just stated, are pretty much the same as in 2003. In terms of general managers, exactly the same. When BAME players returned in 1946, they were steered away from thinking positions such as quarterback towards athletic positions. Consequently, today's offensive coaching ranks are dominated by white coaches. Between 2009 and 2018, 91% of those hired as offensive coordinators were white, and more head coaches were appointed from offensive coordinator jobs than any other position, nearly 40%. I've never been an advocate of a Rooney Rule because, as we said from the numbers from the NFL, it's one of them ones where it doesn't necessarily result in a permanent uptick, because you could hire a black manager, sack them 2 weeks later, but they're still included in the general numbers, because those general numbers, we're talking percentages. It's like percentages in 03 when it started compared to percentages in 2019, but it doesn't break down how long each of those people are in those positions. Or the quarterback, the starting quarterbacks. It doesn't say it doesn't say those quarterbacks, how many games did they start? How many minutes did they play in comparison to their counterparts? Because that would give a lot more overall context. You could start a game and you could get hooked at half time. Yeah.
Cam Newton and Patrick Mahomes have been given the license to do things, but we all know that one person that hasn't been given the license at all. It's the one person that just so happens to cloud that issue.
Go on, shoot.
And we both know the name. I've forgotten his name. I don't even know why I've forgotten his name.
Which sport?
NFL.
Not Kaepernik, is it?
Yes. Colin Kaepernik.
Yeah.
That clouds the issue, and the reason why it clouds the issue, and I wanted to bring up Alex Scott for a reason, because I've actually had a conversation with her, and she mentioned at the time when we had the conversation that she knew that she always wanted to be a presenter. Mm-hmm. Love the work that she's doing.
Yeah, and Alex Scott is a very good pundit.
Yeah,
she's an amazing pundit.
Absolutely love the work. But I want to speak about Colin Kaepernik, because when we look at the representation on the quarterback stage, with Patrick Mahomes, with Cam Newton, with a couple of others that so happen to be in there at the moment. One at the Baltimore Ravens, I've forgotten his name. Lamar Jackson, his name is. There's quite a few that are there and have been for a couple of years, number of years. Cam Newton wasn't doing so well at the Carolina Panthers, so he's now at the New England Patriots. But Colin Kaepernik. So the reason why I'm talking about Colin Kaepernik, for one simple reason only, he's black. So why wasn't he allowed to come back? Why wasn't he allowed to just to do his job? Yes, he's been getting a good deal from Nike. Whatever the deal is, you keep doing your thing, my man. You keep doing what you have to do. But what was the problem with him taking a knee? Especially when he consulted a white soldier. I just genuinely don't get it. I genuinely don't get why there's a problem with it. But yet he hasn't come back. So he's an exception to the rule of Patrick Mahomes, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson doing well. But for some reason, Colin Kaepernik, for 4 years, hasn't been able to get a position as a starting quarterback. When, ironically, he was part of the team, the San Francisco 49ers, who was able to get to the Super Bowl.
So it's not a talent. So it's definitely not a talent issue. It's definitely not a talent issue. So if it's not a talent issue, then we could. Well, that's the best way of putting it.
I think that's what it is.
Blacklisted. So it's one of them ones where it's like he's been seen as this guy speaking up against injustice. This is a problem. This is not good PR. This is not good PR for the club. This is not good PR for the game. This is someone who's highlighting the problems in the game. We need to remove this person who's highlighting the problems in the game. So it's one of them ones that, as I said, with
just highlighting the problems in the game, but he's highlighted the problems within America.
Yeah. But
and not just America. He's not.
But with the world.
He's just highlighting the problems that have happened within an American society that's beyond the game itself.
Of course.
So he's caused a problem that America now knows there is a problem too. They just don't want to do anything about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got the same over here. Not to deviate too much, but you look at Marcus Rashford and what he's done recently. We will do a special feature on that because it deserves it. But Look at the way certain sections of the media have attacked him.
Sterling.
And look at Raheem Sterling and his community work as well. I said, look at how the media vilified Eniola Aluko because she was going up against the England manager, Mark Sampson. There were a lot of people coming out and saying, oh no, she's lying, oh she's this, she's that. When you've got those kind of situations happening, I said, is it any wonder that people from black and minority ethnic backgrounds are not keen on going into the hierarchies or or even just stepping onto the pitch? I mean, we've seen a rise in black players being racially abused. Again, not to get off topic, but look at Alex Scott. Look at Alex Scott specifically, where it's like when it was rumored that I think Sue Barker was going to step back from A Question of Sport, and it was rumored that Alex Scott was going to take that presenting spot, she got a deluge of racist abuse. So it's it's one of them ones where it's like, again, you got that underrepresentation on television as well. So I said, football's a microcosm of society, where it's like you've got underrepresentation everywhere, and when someone does try and break through, they get slapped down from it by a parasitic media. So it's like, is it any wonder that there is that underrepresentation when there shouldn't be? There really should not be, but there is. And as we've discussed, a number of reasons for it. 30th of June 2020, Kick It Out says new BAME coaches scheme is not the giant leap needed. A new scheme to increase the number of black, Asian and minority ethnic coaches is not the giant leap needed, says Kick It Out chair Sanjay Bandari. The Premier League, EFL and PFA scheme aims to help BAME players become full-time coaches. But speaking to BBC Sport, Bandari said by 2025, we need 20% of boards to be people of colour and 25% coaches. The 2011 census showed that about 14.5% of the population in England was from a BAME background, while in 2016, the ONS, Office for National Statistics, estimated the figure had increased to about 15.4% of the population. Similar breakdowns by ethnicity for Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland are actually not currently available. Bandari said this is one initiative, but actually what you need is this replicated across the 92 clubs. It is useful, helpful and a small step forward, but not the giant leap we need. So this should be part of a much bigger strategy. It is part of the answer, but not the whole answer. Now, the initiative, which was announced and started actually in the 2020-2021 season, which we're currently in, and will give 6 coaches a 23-month work placement at EFL clubs per campaign. But PFA members at any age or stage in their careers can apply. This is a critical time for black, Asian and minority ethnic coaches, said Doncaster Rovers manager Darren Moore, chair of the Premier League's Black Participants Advisory Group. We all know and agree that the diversity of coaches and managers must increase, and this placement scheme represents a positive step. There are lots of roles in the academy system all the way through to the first team, and young coaches can slot in at different points to begin that journey. We need to have the right structures and people in place to develop their careers. I know from my own experiences the value of strong support throughout the coaching journey. If you haven't got any black and minority ethnic head coaches, chairman or anything like that, you can't then do mentoring. You can't, that side then lacks as well. So it's like, okay, we've got nobody who looks like us in the top levels of the game, and there's no one to mentor us and encourage us to go for those spots because of that fact. And in women's football, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's even worse than in the men's game because of that. And I said that underrepresentation of players on the pitch shows that, in my opinion. Another issue as well, these quotas, these tick box exercises. That's why I personally don't agree with the Rooney Rule, and I never have. I've said it on Pitch Talk live shows over the years. YouTube.com/Pitch Talk. Go back and please, I implore you to go back and listen to our discussions on racism in football. When you've got managers who may not think that they've got the time to invest in players from impoverished backgrounds that they don't understand, that manager may want to understand that player and be like, you know what? I want to understand, I want to take the time and sit down with you, but because the way the game's set up, it's all predicated on results, you may be out of a job in 3 or 4 games, when that player may need 6, 7, 8, 9 months of mentoring. And even that's a key one. That's another key as well. It's absolutely and utterly frustrating that this is the case, because it really shouldn't be. It really should not be the case. And the FA will try and turn a blind eye and say, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. We've got this advisory. We've got this discrimination, inclusivity, whatever buzzwords, catchphrases you want to put in front of it. Crystal Palace midfielder Jason Puncheon said there needed to be a bigger change. Puncheon, who wants to get into coaching after retirement, said black coaches and managers get written off too soon. So there's that. But he also said we want to get to a stage where the Rashfords, the Sterlings, the Lingards, the Kyle Walkers are retiring, that they are walking into a managerial job like normal, and it's not looked upon differently. That's where we need to be heading for me personally. It is vital that there are no barriers to entry to the pipelines for employment in coaching, said Premier League Chief Executive Richard Masters. He also said we need more BAME coaches entering the system to create greater opportunities throughout the professional game. Black players are very heavily represented on the pitch. But then once you start going up the chain, then you start to see that underrepresentation. So it's one of them ones where it's like in the women's game, this is happening on the pitch where that underrepresentation is happening. So it's like it's just one of them ones where I said there are so many different strands as to why it's happening. And the powers that be keep asking the question, keep doing these token gestures, keep doing these initiatives, but there needs to be more done to attack that systemic problem. Really hoping that Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford, they can potentially be those who open more doors for those of black and minority ethnic backgrounds. It's always one of them ones where it's easier to aspire to a known face, because then more people can connect to that and then build that up. They need to be given time and resources, and also not be fast-tracked into a job too early, because that can also have its own pitfalls as well. Paul Ince, Blackburn. If you're fast-tracked into a job too quickly, then it's like, well, it does more harm than good, because if everything crumbles down and you're held responsible for it, you end up looking inept. And then because of the way it seems to be a one in, one out policy, one person can end up burning a bridge for 10 others, because the stereotype is, oh, well, that person didn't succeed. Oh, yeah, let's stay away from that group. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a critical factor within it as well. The underrepresentation of black and minority ethnic managers, male managers in football. We want to know your views. Comment section is below. Hit us up on the social networks. YouTube.com/Pitch Talk is where you can catch all of our videos. Twitter.com/Pitch Talk or @Pitch Talk. Tweet with us, follow us, see what we're up to. @Pitch Talk on Instagram as well. We post previews to our vlogs and podcasts up there. So keep an eye on Instagram for all the preview material and the full versions on YouTube. Also, we do audio versions on Podomatic, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and via Player FM as well, or wherever you pick up your podcasts. Check out our RSS feed. Facebook.com/Pitch Talk. Become a fan, become a friend, become a member of the group. Join the footballing revolution we are working so hard to create. Tell a friend, rate, subscribe, share, spread the word. Like love, Pitch Talk is there to be spread around. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Join the Pitch Talk revolution on social media, dropping vlogs, videos, and podcasts on the beautiful game.